Because I think a lot of our young men are looking for a sense of self, a sense of pride, something that makes them feel good about what they're doing. And I think we need to instill in young people and show young people what it means to be a boss for real. You know, not like the fake boss stuff where you get a nice car and a nice house, you know what I'm saying, and that makes you a boss. But like really show young people what it means to be a boss in a way that can empower their community and make them strive for that, and not run away from the images of success that too often they're fed that's really are contrary to what it means to be true leaders and true folks that can empower the community.
Peace and blessings, everyone. Rashad Steve, self-proclaimed catalyst of change, but also I consider myself the millennial mayor of Baltimore City. We'll explain that later on. But in a sense, I want to do something, and I don't want to speak for the youth. I don't want to speak to them, and I don't want to speak down to them. But as the day progressed, it was a very transitional point that I think some may have caught and some may have missed. That a lot of time we try to force feed them the answers, right? And a lot of times the social issues that are conflicted on our youth are lived by them. And the things that get to it are, I'm sorry, this is me just going off a track because I need to show by example. So instead of what I want to do is not speak for them, not speak to them, but sometimes we got to relinquish our platform and allow them to tell us exactly who they are and what they're living for. So I asked for this before, but I think this is the perfect time for us to show by example what we should do to keep them engaged and allow them to show us what their true answers are. Because if they're living through the problem and they're surviving through the problem, that means they are the solution to the problem. So I want one of the solutions to come up, brother, and give your perspective. Relinquish my platform for this young brother to show his skill and his talent on how to engage his peers. Because we can't engage them because we don't have the mouth and the tongue that they articulate and talk to. So let's tap into that umbilical cord and that iPhone charger that they both lived through and allow them to speak for themselves. So Rasta Hootie, please, brother, show your talent.
Alright, so what most of y'all probably don't know is I'm 1/5 of the BCYP 2016-2017 Baltimore City Youth Slam team. So I do poetry and everything, and like I'm a traveling poet and all that stuff. So this is my poem called Nike, and I won several grand slams. I
want to ask you right?
Yeah. My nickname is Nike. People will kill me. And then a little innocent Negro children are murdered in cold blood, and they throw me upon a power line just to symbolize how their soul would never die. And that's the way Baltimore's going. Will my nights be next? Is blood that splatters upon my Nike checks? Mother distraught and under stress, no longer able to see their child because bullets laid them to rest. Those shots hit his chest. And he played grand theft auto out, but couldn't find a cheat code for a bulletproof vest. Cause no, I am not just a shoe. I stand for niggas that's killing each other. Dead bodies, teddy bears, and crying mothers do something to me. Deep down inside, not even an x-ray can see. We want to scream out because we have something to say. But when we make it positive, they make it negative. Look at the situation with Freddie Gray. I often look at the kids in my community like LeBron, because when they shoot, they then fade away. Kids dressed in black hoodies like Trayvon, step back and shoot like KD, and you know they're scoring. Shells lifting black souls in the air, higher than air, Jordan, no justice, no peace. But my brothers are using each other for human target practice, and we got the nerve to worry about the police. His soul is now gone. His soul is now dead. And we feed into the beast we call the streets instead. I look a black boy in the eyes and I see the soul of another Trayvon. Eating Skittles, drinking the Arnold Palmer. Bullets pierce his chest to label him a goner, but that wouldn't patent if he had a bulletproof vest. As his Under Armour, the paramedics run up and pump and pump and pump. His chest like a brand new pair of Reeboks. Another black life ended by just 3 shots by somebody that looked like him. Not no damn cop. A lost soul traveling down the dark road with his lost soul in the dark soul, the same color of a hot coal. People say this generation is messed up, but in actuality, it's the generation before. Knowing we need that hammer instead of helping the accused to scorn. They say wrinkle in time, but in fact it's a page torn. They complain when they see all this blood and gore, but little do they know that child you just saw, that was the God who gave his soul plan and gave it to the Lord. But you know what they say, right? My soul is now gone. My soul is now dead. And they feed to the beast they call the streets instead. You wonder why they come from the power minds.
Son, cipher, wise man, calling out into the wilderness, speaking your heart and your soul. And there are so many stories waiting to be heard from our young people. It's not a time to talk, son. Because in the silence of the moment is when the spirit is revived. It is when the soul is refreshed. For those who are called to do this work. This is not a hustle. This is not a jail beat. This is a calling. Many of us have been called from other careers. We have folk who work this place, and now are doing work. We have folk who have sacrificed, who have given up. We have folk who have to make a decision. Do I spend the money to keep the lights on, or do I buy hot dogs for the little outdoor rally we gonna have? Mayor, thank you. You told me. And thank you. Son, thank you. You have been given a gift. And prophets, urban prophets, I'm talking about, not P-R-O-F-I-T-S. There's some people that are prophets, and that's all that they see, and the agony and the pain and the suffering of how I can make money off of the misery of others. But what you have been able to do was to take your gift, make it tangible, make it feel, make it substantive, and present it and to let it go. And I believe that deeper rhymes, other rhymes, true, and are going to come out of you. And just be that conduit. That conduit is something that allows something to flow through it and out of it. That flowed through you and out of you. You understand what I'm saying, son? Doing the rumbles, and I've been involved, there's always something that happens that is not part of the plan, if you will. It's not measurable, as Sean would say. It doesn't fit in a metric category. One of the things, and I believe one of the reasons that we rumble, is that hope is on the ropes and it's taking a beat. There were days, and I don't know about you, I tell people I refuse to live one day feeling that I can't make a difference, but sometimes hope is on the ropes. Rabbit punch, kidney punch, uppercuts, jabs. But hope is resilient, and I believe that we was just given, and that's why it got quiet in the room. every soul, every age felt the weight of those words. Son, you helped to revive hope. You helped us to understand that our labor is not in vain. Another thing about a seed is that you don't always see what comes up. Everybody in here had somebody that put a seed in the ground for them. And they may not be here to see what came up, but we are here. I almost wish that you was the last speaker so I could just send people home. But I can't. But we got that peace. And people will know not your name for fame, but know your name because you have struggled and you have seen things and you bear witness. In the mode that we're in, I want to talk about time, talent, and treasure. This is a time, talent, and treasure bank. It's a bank that you can come to. We're talking economics. I'm talking time, talent, and treasure. If you have done something with your time, if you have done something with your talent, or if you have done something with your treasure, this is the time to set and put a seed in our bank so that it can inspire someone else to do the same. I mentioned I had an idea 6 years ago, an idea that I could not fund, and that was to make sure that people who came out of prison had opportunity to heal from the ordeal. So I offer that as something that was done. But you have ideas and things that you've done, and oftentimes nobody even knows it. And this is young people also. This is no weight class to this. If you have done, and all I'm going to ask you to do is just say what you did. I'm not asking you how you did it right now. If we want to run back, we can find out. So I'm going to have another line form the time, talent, and treasure. If you have given out of yourself, your time, your talent, or treasure to make something happen in this city, I want you just to come right here and speak that thing. Is that clear? Okay. Thank you. I got one. I know that there's somebody else. Come. I ain't calling out numbers on this one. I have to believe that in this room, there are people who made sacrifices that were not funded. Your time, your talent, your treasure. I got one more call. Your time, your talent, your treasure. Okay. I'm going gonna just ask you to say what you did, and I'm gonna hold the mic on this one.
I have fed the homeless, and I also help kids with after-school work. Like, I help them with their homework, I trained them, and I also, if anybody ever wanted to talk to me, I always was there to be open for them. And if they ever had an issue, I'll make sure I make myself available.
Thank you.
About 4 years ago, I started a nonprofit organization called Rising Over Standards and Excelling Incorporated, which is basically just a community development organization aimed at young men and women. And one of our biggest accomplishments is we're going into our 3rd year of our mentoring program, which is called Regal Women and Royal Men Internship Program.
Thank you.
So back in February, me and my 2 sisters, we directed a play called Gym of the Ocean by August Wilson, the same guy who wrote Fences. And it was a treasure for me because it allowed us to change the image of how black folk view themselves. Long story short, August Wilson just wanted us to interrogate what freedom actually meant. We get freedom, but what does it mean and what does it look like? So it was a treasure.
Thank you.
My organization, we're able to, with young people, we help them develop businesses, and they have developed our program, but we did that without support, and now, because of some of the things we were able to accomplish, we're being asked about how we can be supported, and now we can better kind of make some more decisions based on that. So I would say, go ahead and try to bootstrap what you're doing. Then when you get success, that's going to give you more control later on when you do reach out for funding.
I do poetry. I've been doing poetry since I was 12. I'm also a youth activist, and I also go around like to different schools and to different areas. I will talk to kids who have had trouble with suicide and depression.
I became the first man on my mother's family to graduate from high school in 40 years, went on to become a medical doctor, stopped practicing medicine in 2010, because when I went through medical school, I was the only black male in my class. I now teach in Baltimore City Public Schools. I run an organization, work with my brother Damian Cooper, and I currently have 220 kids in medical school, nursing school, or professional public health school.
So I have a surrogate daughter who she thinks she's turning 40. She came to live with me when she was 16. But a year ago, my sister who is disabled, she had an aneurysm and stroke. She's paralyzed on one part of her body. She's 67. Her daughter, who's 6 years younger than me, and her 3 children all came to live with me and my husband, who are now empty nesters, but we were kind of empty nesters. My kids went off to college, but my extended family came to live with me.
I started a mentoring program after a vision God had given me. I didn't have any funds, so I picked up a second full-time job making $25,000 a year. I bought a 2015 van to transport my mentees, and in 2 years I put 87,000 miles taking them to school, picking them up from school, taking them to different programs and trying to connect with other organizations. So much so I almost gave up my family to support the young men and what I believe in. And today, we're still around here, and I'm finding ways to get funding through avenues I never thought possible.
All right, well, good afternoon. First of all, it's an honor to be here. I'm very impressed by these young men. I am super impressed by these young men. You've given me hope. There's a lot of things that we do. Most of the things that I do are non-traditional for policing, so it's going to sound kind of odd. One of the things was really hard for me to do, but we were able to be successful at working with Baltimore City School System and putting an in-school curriculum for a career path for law enforcement. It's the only one in the state of Maryland. all of law enforcement. It's one of the few in the entire country. Then we also take out at-risk youth, ones that people don't want to deal with. They'd rather suspend them, kick them out of the school, so forth and so on. We take them away for an entire week up in the woods right before school starts back up, and we totally, I'm not going to get into it, but we totally transform their lives when they get back. They're back in school. Sound much like some of these young men that I heard speak up here saying they're back in school, getting to school early. One of the other things is, being a police, we're not in the business of stopping recidivism by trying to help the ex-offender. But that's something I wanted to do. And so we started without the help of the city, without the help of my own department. We started a re-entry movement, we don't call it a program. And we go after those who are continuously being recidivists, who are continuously shooting, who are continuously selling drugs in our communities, and we go after them hard with love. And what we do is we put them in a movement, and we got a very successful success rate, because I took 6 years out of my life on my time to build up corporate Baltimore, to tell them how impressionable and how important it was to build up jobs for the ex-offenders, because they can't get jobs, especially felonies. And so we were able to cheerlead up corporate Baltimore. Today, after 2.5 years, we've already hired, or had hired, 400 ex-offenders that are working right here in Baltimore City, making livable wages at $12 up to $30-something an hour, and they look just like us, with horrible, horrible records, but they're working, they're working, they're working. Last thing I want to say, we know how hard it is policing, or how our police are hard in the community. So I had to figure out a way, because this is non-traditional. How do we get our police to be community-oriented? How do we get them to go into our neighborhoods without beating up our young black men and women and abusing our communities? So the first thing that came to my mind, because it came from above, was let's put clergy in the car with the police. What am I telling you? We built a chaplaincy program like no other in the country. We have the most chaplains, but they're not police chaplains. We call them chaplains for our city. They're not just there for the police. Yes, they transform the police, but they're there also to help heal our communities. And then they're there to connect the bridge. We have almost 160 chaplains in this city, and they're there to keep our police accountable, and they're also there to heal our communities and let us get back on track so we can get back to that village mentality where we are partners in the communities and not occupiers. God bless you.
Wow. Thought somebody was running up on me. Where is my Steve?
Right here, sir. Yes, sir. In the windows. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, I see you. I just wanted to know, take a little temperature check. So we've got some suggestions. We've heard from the flyways. We're able to look at how people have dealt with their time, their talent, and their treasure. I want you to come, because I know that there's a burning question inside of you, or at least a challenge, or at least something that while we are here, and we are taking notes. If I was someplace else, I would say that we are assiduously taking notes. But I ain't gonna say that. We're doing the best we can to take as many notes that can help to inform those who are in decision making. There's this thing called leveraging. And when you leverage your resources, and that is that you take what you have to leverage it. And there are different ways that you can leverage. I've been involved in building the capacity of organizations for most of my work life. And there are some problems that are just the same no matter where you are. Grassroots organization, I sat in on a conversation, I'd like to listen. A grassroots organization that begins to move. Organizations are alive. They have a heartbeat, if you will, and they have to be nurtured and fed. I tell some people that we have what's called bodegas. These are small family-owned food shops, deli, grocery stores, if you will. A person that has a bodega but saved enough money to open up a supermarket cannot run the supermarket like they ran the bodega. You can't have 6, 7, 8 cashier lines, but only one person, because that's the way you did it. You only keep one open. All these people are waiting online. there has to be an organizational shift to meet the opportunity. When I do teaching, I talk about organizational capacity building teaching, that the Harvard Business School operates from a model of opportunities and threats. And basically, they teach it from a case study method where you look to maximize opportunities and you identify threats. But the next level, and this is the level that I believe we're going to go to, not because Harvard teaches it, but because it can help. How do we turn threats into opportunities? Because a lot of times we stop at the threat and we become very proficient in defining the threat. And for some, that may be what their calling is to talk about the threat. But I believe that in this room is the opportunity to turn a threat into an opportunity. Now, this call ain't for everybody because you may not have come up on it just yet. But if you have, now I'm not asking you to philosophize on what I said. If you have, and if it's just one person, I'll take one person. If you have turned a threat into an opportunity, could you please speak to how you did it? Because I think that that's what we need to learn how to do. I don't know where you are, and you may not have had this opportunity. I may be talking something, I don't know. But if you've turned a threat into an opportunity, is there another? We talk about social entrepreneurs. If you're a social entrepreneur, you undoubtedly turned a threat into an opportunity. So while this is marinating, let me just say that sometimes we are people that confuse inflammation with information. It's easy to inflame the passions of people, but inflammation that's not connected to a plan is an opportunity for somebody to just get their stuff off. And maybe it's my age. I don't have time. Not with what is going on. It's just not in Baltimore. I've been to just about every city in this nation, and it's the same thing. So we're turning threats rather into opportunities. Here you go.
So I want to share a story, a literal story of actually how an actual threat. There was a young man in the school that I was working at. He was involved in a gang, and he was on the verge of being put out of the school, but the school was scared to put him out of the school because they were afraid of the repercussions. And so they asked me to come in and work with this young man, and over the span of about 6 months, I worked with him, and one of the things that was the key to changing the relationship was telling this young man that I loved him. And it's something that I consistently do with all the young people that I work with, because one of the things that we oftentimes don't understand is that these young people aren't consistently told, oftentimes, that someone loves them. And so, in telling him that I loved him, and we went through this battle where he was trying to figure out why I loved him. And I told him because I could. Because people, and I'm sorry to keep making this plug, but people like Steve and David, when they met a 12-year-old boy with a chip on his shoulder, they grabbed him and they said, no, this is the way to do it. And so, within those 6 months, I introduced him to books. I introduced him to the benefit of education. So we signed him up at BCCC, at CCBC. We signed him up for 2 4-year colleges. The young man graduated. He went on to college. He also went on to school to become a masseuse. And he's doing very, very well. He's out of the game. But this particular thing not only transformed his life, but it transformed my life. So not only am I doing this for him, but I go out and seek those young people who are threats so that I can tell them that they are loved, so that they can continue to have those experiences, because I believe that that's vitally important. And I believe that that's how we disarm the threat, that we meet it with love, that we meet it with purpose, and that we meet it with positive intention. And I'll continue to do so.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Damian Cooper, and I guess I'm going to reiterate a little bit what I said this morning. I lived a real life threat. So when I was in college a long time ago, I was followed home by 2 guys and got right beside my house, and one of the guys pulled out a gun and shot me in shoulder guard. The bullet ricocheted, cracked my sternum, ricocheted, broke the ribs, ricocheted, and lodged under the nerves of my right arm. And for 4 years, 2 months and 18 days, because I calculated the time, I became a very angry and bitter young black man. I grew up in the projects of East Baltimore, and the projects I lived in is now Johns Hopkins parking lot. And I was always a good kid. But after I got shot, I lost my faith, I lost my compassion, I lost everything that I've been taught by my family and my community. Because being shot, I didn't know how to handle the anger. I didn't know how to handle the hurt or the pain or the depression. And one thing I didn't say this morning, I don't like to say, is that on December 31st, 1996, sitting in my house at the corner of Broadway and Fremont Avenue, I was going to take my own life because I couldn't no longer handle the pain. And one thing I knew about on New Year's Eve in Baltimore is that at midnight, everybody's going to start firing their guns. So I decided at midnight I was going to take myself out the same way this young man was trying to take me out. I was going to kill myself. It wasn't until 2 of my friends decided to come to my house at night and basically begged me to go to a church service I did not want to go to. And they rang my bell, until my neighbor upstairs came and banged on my door and said, Damien, I gotta work, 11 o'clock, and they keep me awake, do something. So they came up into my apartment and they fussed at me for over an hour until I said, fine, I'm gonna go to church with you. And I decided I was gonna go to this church, and I was gonna sit at the very end of the pew, right near the door, and I swear I was gonna dip out since they prayed or they took an offering. But this pastor that came in this night to preach the sermon preached a very simple message from the book of Psalms, Psalms 30, verse 5, that says, for his anger endureth but a moment, and his favor is life. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And one thing he told to each and every one of us in there, I don't care how much money you have, what kind of stature you have in your life, we all going to go through some kind of night season. We can fake like we won't, but we're all going to go through something. But we hold on just to a little bit of faith the size of a grain of mustard seed. That's all God needs to turn something around. And he said his very favorite word in the Bible is the word but, the conjunction. Because usually something bad is going on, but when it says but, something new is about to happen. And from that night, I decided to forgive the man who shot me, and I didn't even know who he was. Fast track, years later, I said, I lived through this. I won a grant for $10,000. And I could use anything with that money, but I decided to take that money to affect the lives of young men who were just like you and just like you. Because I got tired of seeing the things that was going on in Baltimore. And so I decided to go to the police department and ask them, can I work with the police officers and the young boys in Baltimore City So the very same boys that don't trust cops can work with the very same officers they think they're out to get them. And for the past 4 years, I started a program called Project RYMR that's working with young men teaching the art of forgiveness, self-control, and discipline. Until this very day, every single Saturday at noon, the guy that was going to kill me, I talked to. This man is now out of prison. He's now married. He has 2 kids. He's an active member of his men's ministry in his church. So my overcoming portion was the art of forgiveness. I said earlier, Baltimore can be a very unforgiving city. But if I can forgive the man who's going to take my life, hopefully I can help to teach another young man to forgive someone else. And God has really blessed us that we started with 25 boys, and now we have a list of 322 boys. Because what we're trying to do is teach them forgiveness, love,
To reiterate what I said earlier, way at the beginning, I spoke on how I was being bullied in school and how I wasn't understanding what was going on. But one of the cases when I was getting bullied, someone threatened to shoot me in the school. So I was really upset from that because I was just, first getting into the school and I was trying to, understand the people around me, get to know them. And then this guy right there was going to shoot me. He threatened to shoot me right at the end of the class. And the first thing I took, I was really emotional. I still am emotional. And I was like, what do I do about this? Now, I was lucky because I had a couple of teachers that were looking out for me, and I talked to them, and then they told me to go to the guidance counselor, go to the principal, and told me that you can't do this head on. You can't try to rush at it. You have to go ahead and go to somebody that can actually help and change it. And so the straight next day, he was called into the room, my parents were called into the room, and his mother was put on the speakerphone. And it turns out that kid's mother was going to a funeral of his cousin that just got shot the other day being in a hood, and he was going around doing stuff like this, and his mother, her tone was saying that I can't believe he was doing something like this. He's like, I'm a single mother. I can't believe the struggle, the hell that you're putting me through, even though we just lost somebody. You threatening and going around saying that you're gonna shoot somebody like you're a bad boy, like somebody like you hard and all that type of stuff. And that opened up my mind. I was like, wow, this kid was really I really was in fear in my life, like this kid was gonna do it. But at the end of the day, he was just struggling. He didn't know how to express himself. He was putting himself out to me, and I saw that as an opportunity to learn, to see that things aren't as cut out as they seem. People put on this persona saying that they all tough, they all hard, and truly, sometimes they be suffering. They can be really crying at home, and then sometimes you might just be in the pathway, but still, that is not an appropriate way to do it. But still, you gotta open your mind to see what other possibilities that could be going on in somebody's life.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm going to tell you a real quick story. I touched down in Baltimore 2 days before Thanksgiving in 1976. That's when my life began. 2 days before Thanksgiving in 2015, my life changed forever. And not just mine, but my family's life when we lost my grandson to violence. It was the most horrific pain that myself and my family have ever been through. But I didn't just lose my grandson, I lost my daughter. I lost my other grandchildren because our lives changed through no choice of ours. But what we did was we made a decision, we made a choice. And we said, to honor Ananias, we're going to move on because that's what he would have done. So the first thing I did was, after my job decided they didn't need me anymore, I said, thank you very much, because I'm about to do something else. We took our pain and created an organization called the Ananias Act. And it does exactly what we have a passion for doing, and it does what we know works, and it's mentoring. So I support mentoring programs all over the country. But the other part of that is that we decided that we had to find a way to heal. But not just us, because when these threats happens, when this pain happens, it happens to a whole lot of people that we don't even realize are going through it. So we did something different. We created something called Do-Rag, Day of Remembrance and Positivity. And it's all the young people at Renaissance, and they're doing what they do to help them feel better. They're rapping about their losses. They're dancing about their losses. And we created a healing video it healed me a whole lot. Of course, I'm still not there, but I'm getting there. But the mantra was resiliency, and we're gonna be all right. We're gonna be all right. Can you hear me? Can you feel me? We're gonna be all right.
I wasn't going to, I didn't think of this, but I'm gonna, before I pass the mic. One of the things about being a minister, I do funerals. Children, teens, the elders, mothers, fathers, children, brothers, sisters. You know this. One day I got a phone call. There was a shooting on a public bus in Queens, and a 14-year-old honor student daughter, didn't matter if she was an honor student, but she was shot in the head and was killed on the bus. The shooter was shooting at somebody else, who we don't know. I saw the story on the news, and we see stories, and sometimes you can see so many that it's just one more story, and it doesn't hit you the same way. It doesn't, but there was something every time I saw this story on the news. I was taken by this young lady. Her name was Deja. I didn't know, I said, well, maybe because you're just feeling it and you're doing whatever. But 2 days later, I got a phone call, and it was from a young lady and said, you heard about the shooting on the bus? The family wants you to do the funeral, and it's going to be at your church. I attend a very large church, and it needed to be a large church because a lot of people were coming. And I asked the question, because there are, and we talked about it, there are some people that just like the camera and have a way of kind of getting in there. So I said, well, why me? And the person said, because you baptized her when she was a baby. And my mind went back to being in my mother and father's church, a small church, a whole church could sit at this table and that table. And I remembered baptizing this baby. It's the only one I ever baptized in their church. It was her. The day of the funeral, I made myself stand at the pulpit. Over 750 young people, many of them probably never been in a house of worship before. But this wasn't the time that some perhaps would have taken to talk about pants, to talk about this and that. They all filed past, and I made myself stand there and look at each one, walk past Deja's coffin that 50 Cent paid for. He paid for the whole funeral. Wasn't on television, didn't make news, but he paid, I know he did, he paid for the whole funeral. Once all of the young people went up into the balcony, I asked the mother for permission. This is turning the threat into an opportunity. I asked the mother for permission to speak to the young people once I finished this eulogy. Because I'm a youth developer. This is what I do, what I'm called to do. gifted to do? And she said, yes. And when I finished, all of the young people sitting up in the balcony, some 750 strong, I told them that I want to apologize to you. I want to apologize to you for all of the adults who confuse talking about you with talking to you. I want to apologize because we haven't told you that you have a destiny, and your destiny is not to be a corner woman. Your destiny is not to be a sneaker pimp. Your destiny is not to go into the belly of the beast to make someone money off of one's incarceration. You have a destiny, and a destiny is something that while it's given to you, you got to work hard to keep it. And then last, I told them, forgive us for not saying that we love you. When we said we loved you in that room, that's for real. I don't know if a lot of our youngins feel that we love them. We may fear them, some. Some have grown to dislike them. Some have vilified them. But we love you. I'm going to spend whatever days I have doing something that came to me 20 years ago, and that is to starve the beast. The beast that feeds on the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of our communities. Starve the beast. The beast that can never be full. The beast that looks at incarceration as a way of keeping a certain population locked up, but yet still making money. So I believe that we all have the opportunity to become beast starvers, to take the meal out of the mouth through information, through do-rap, through workshops, collaborations with the police department, through spoken word, through whatever our gift, our talent, our treasure may be. So I'm going to get a mic over to our impresario. He done wrote up a whole lot of stuff, so we'll see where he goes. I'm hoping that those who will come back tomorrow, but you do that. I want to say, I love each and every one of you.
So my eyes are red. I can feel them burning. I don't know if you can see it, but I can feel redness. And the redness that is being full. A lot has been happening in the background. As you probably have seen, I have moved from north, south, east, west, east, northeast, southeast, southwest in this room, downstairs, upstairs, as have our team. We received some live feedback because in Baltimore, you know, how y'all do is you tend to get feedback pretty immediately. Sometimes it's a little rough. Sometimes it's accompanied by a couple of cuss words. And some of the feedback, I think, speaks to what has been happening in this city over generations and what we are contending with in this moment and why this rumble is so important. I shared with you a word called asymmetric. And that term asymmetric means the fight ain't fair. We have in front of us a boxing ring. And in theory, in the boxing ring, you got somebody in the middle and it's 1 against 1. This ain't MMA, where it's you in a cage and y'all just trying to tear each other's limbs off. This is strategy. This is, I'm gonna punch you in your face first. Because that first hit is gonna get you to consider what you done stepped into. And if that don't get you, then I got several hundred other tactics and techniques that I have mastered in training. And I'm gonna unleash all of those upon you within 15 rounds and systematically destroy you. Now, you might think the destruction is of your body, but in fact, I'm trying to steal your spirit. I'm trying to kill your spirit. Understand what I'm saying? The reason I'm gonna punch you in your head and ring your bell, or as they used to say in Baltimore, dot that I, before you throw your joints, is I'm starting to chip away at your spirit. I'm trying to get you to drop your arms so I can come up and punch your clock and I can go home. Some of y'all don't realize we're in a fight, but you're fighting. And what we're fighting for, the war, and we're going to get in it tomorrow. We've already started it, but that war is asymmetric and it's spiritual. Muhammad Ali and Ambassador Shabazz brought this forward, and she will be speaking to us tomorrow. She's agreed, and I'm going to take this. And I'm going to figure out what that's going to mean and lay out some things for her to. She's going to do what she does, but it's going to be one of the things she brought forth about Muhammad Ali and about her father and about the men of that time who we celebrate a portion of. What she said is that a lot of what we study and realize about Muhammad Ali occurred before he was 25 years old. That's what you're holding up to. Once he became 39 and 1977 hit, and he moved into the latter part of his boxing career and then retired, I posit to you that Muhammad Ali's training in the ring and for his 35 to 40 years outside of the ring was spiritual. I'm telling you, there's nothing like getting hit in the face or hit in the head by a trained boxer. If you don't believe me, there are several boxing gyms, including Umar, which is the one I suggest you go to. Go put on some headgear. Tell Coach Marvin McDowell I sent you. Put on go ahead and wrap your hands up and come in your brand new shorts and your brand new J's that you don't run in, but you only wear them when you're going from the car to the store so you can be fly. Wear that. And then go put on some headgear and get in the ring with one of his fighters. Pick one. Pick the smallest one. Because because we don't want to hurt you. But pick the smallest one. And let that young man put your head out and let him hit you in it. And when he tags you, and when you start seeing math that wasn't there, when Copernicus and a whole bunch of black people from the ancestry roll up on you instantly, when they all show up past you, because you done picked the smallest one. Davon, I'm going to write something about how in America we love soft targets. We love soft targets so much. That's what our young people are. We're what folks don't realize is when we start telling them that they selling you your swag, when we start telling them things that start to show them their power, the history, who came before and who they are, you got a whole different ball game. But go pick that smallest box, and when he tags you, that's just that one hit. And you're going to go home, it'll be an Excedrin in you, in front of the cable, like, why did I do that? Steve is crazy. You shouldn't have did it, but you did it. Muhammad Ali did that hundreds of thousands of times in the ring with men who were over 300 pounds and all muscle. That was his career in the boxing ring. His preparation wasn't just running 25 miles to count the 25 miles and then running back the other 25. His preparation included the spirituality. It included taking care of the spirit. Because you can do a lot of things to me. I've been through some ass whoopings in my day. That's what they were. Tore the fur off of me. And I'm here to tell you that what got me here was maintenance of spirit. I had to go to a place to wait for that because you know what? I'm going to heal up. And when I get up, I'm reclaiming fur. And so what I say to you all is that today, Spirit ran through the room. You may not like the form that it ran through. You may not quite understand what jumped off, but understand that it is here. And understand that this work is not linear. The fight is not linear. So if you expect a linear response, you don't understand the fight. I'll give you a very, very brief aspect of it. The food that we serve. We didn't serve junk. It was whole food. Real food. When we had a conversation, parties will be unnamed, who said, why is it so expensive to have the Rumble? We do the Rumble for $4 a person. I'm like, well, clearly, first of all, ain't nobody eating. It's going to be Ritz crackers, Cheese Whiz, and everything oily and sugary that we can find to so-called feed you. So what you consume informs, that's part of the fight. That's part of the fight. Davon said to you, read. What you read, because brothers in here, we used to fight with brothers in Baltimore, the city that reads. We used to fight about reading. Now that young people are tweeting, Instagramming, Snapchatting, texting, now we like, don't read that. Well, damn, make up your mind. They're reading. But what we're challenging you to is, what are you consuming as you read? What are you consuming as you put it in your body, in your mind? What are you breathing in? And for us, those subtle but powerful pieces, the space that we selected, was selected for you. So that you could be in a space where you could do you, that's about you, so you could be you and know you. Those are subtle but powerful. Those are ways that we begin to rumble and rumble this asymmetric, non-linear fight that we're in. And this fight is on levels, y'all. It's on levels. That's why we gotta fight back on levels. That's why it's, some of y'all are like, this, I don't understand what just happened. You damn right. The medicine is working. Because what's gonna happen is somebody gonna sit up tonight, in the middle of the night, like, I got it. The brother's poem about Nikes, I'm standing here in some J's. brother's poem hit me on levels. The medicine sets in, and you start coming to your natural black self. And you see things that you had unseen, that you had decided to unsee, or that you just can't not see anymore. And this room, the point of this is to begin to fight back together. Because we good. Baltimore, it's in our history. Davon, real quick. Y'all, real quick. In Baltimore City in the 1800s, every firehouse, Baltimore was big for churches and firehouses. Every community had a different, and I'm talking, when I say community, block, had a church and a firehouse nearby. And those firehouses were the instrument for fixing elections in this city. If you want to understand why people in Baltimore used to bank each other, by the way, if you're not from Baltimore, they talk about a bank. Whatever you do, it's not about putting money in. I'm sorry. But the fight started back then. And it transferred and kept coming forward to now. Now we got guns, fast guns, but the same stuff translated. We can translate the solutions. We got it in here. The medicine is working. You just don't realize it. Dr. Phyllis says it all the time. We got to get stealth, because if we ran it linear, you know linear. But if I start, as Reverend White used to say, if we start working like ninjas and get in there and drop gems and jewels, seeds, all of a sudden it shows up. So tomorrow, because you all have done a lot, and we've come a long way today in this room. Believe it or not, some of y'all are like, I don't know, where's the evaluation form so I can say no? The evaluation form actually, and the accountability process actually, and Sean, I'm going to ask you to come up because I want you to have the last word here today. But the evaluation isn't just today, and the accountability isn't just today. It's what you do on Saturday and Sunday and every day beyond. We'll talk about that. But tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, please do not come in here and, my brother Rodney, you put me to shame with the bow tie, but thank you. Please do not come in here tomorrow dookie down, suited and booted. Please come in tomorrow casual. As a matter of fact, each and every one of you received a CBMA Baltimore t-shirt. We ask that you wear it tomorrow. Tomorrow is not only a day when we're going to put in even more work, but we're going to take a picture at the end of the day. We need everybody looking just about the same, so we can put that up there, all right? T-shirt day, so we definitely want you to be casual tomorrow. Tomorrow's session is going to get right to the crux of some of what we have in our midst. And Reverend Dr. White is going to lead a session tomorrow on seedology, intergenerational respect, healing. We have to heal amongst ourselves. And again, I can't channel Phyllis better than Phyllis can channel Phyllis, but I promise you, this idea of healing has begun, and you got to lean into it. And something I just learned, and thank you, Phyllis, for reinforcing, is this idea that healing is communal. In Baltimore, we think, look, and I'm saying in Baltimore because I've done it and seen it, that healing is individual, that I need to go somewhere. And, some very hurtful words to hear when you're in the middle of pain is go somewhere. Boy, go sit down. You and your tears. Keep something to cry about. But tomorrow's about intergenerational and interpersonal healing. So we need you to bring your entire self to this conversation tomorrow. One last point of business, for those of you who drove here, I'd ask that you please make sure that your if you drove and you parked across the street, it's cheaper if you allow us to validate your parking. Save you some money. And that way we can continue to build wealth and equity. Okay. Thank you all for everything you put into today. I'm going to turn over to Brother Sean Dove, who's going to take us home, and then it's going to be our day.
Thanks, Steve. Let's give our brother Steve a round of applause for some love, motivation. He's about to come in and renegotiate that contract. I told his mother and sister last night, like, Steve's like an onion. It's like, each day I'm like seeing a whole new layer of the brother. And just want to thank you for your leadership. I want to thank everybody for showing up. I hope and pray you got what you needed. I will tell you that I did honor what I committed to do. I went and got my massage. And that was the best massage I ever had with my clothes on, I swear. So, the Health and Healing Suite, who else got a massage? Will you raise your hand? Can please? All right. Look, Chief wasn't on the list, and he got his massage, right? So, that felt real good. And I still got those butterflies that I had last night that I talked about, and I'm just going to take a couple minutes. And part of the butterflies that I feel is like, where do we go from here, right? We've come together. We've made some connections. But I've been doing this, I turned 55 a couple weeks ago, and I saw a video with Saladin. Saladin's a young man over there in a pop-up shop. I've known him since he was 14 years old, and he's running a community center in Harlem that I was running when I met him. And he found some VHS tapes. And for the young folks, what's VHS? What's a VCR? But yeah. So he still had a VCR, and he pulled it out and started sending me some clips of a 30-year-old me. And I was talking about in 5, maybe 10 years, putting myself out of business, or putting ourselves out of business in the work that we were doing in Central Harlem. And here we are 25 years later, we're still having the same conversations. And so that's what the butterflies are about. And Rev talked about, not having time and being impatient. I just want to lift up the two brothers that have shared similar stories, Damien and the brother, I don't know your name in the back. Darryl Green. That's right, you did tell me that. Both of them, Darryl sitting next to the man that killed his brother and that forgiveness. And Damien being shot and forgiving the brother who shot you. And I just think the question is like, what are we holding on to? Who do we need to forgive that we haven't forgiven? Because we're holding on to some stuff that people don't even remember. And who's the poet? What's the poet? What's your name again? Yes, thank you. Poetry saved my life.